evening and welcome to Lyerly Online. Hope y'all are having a great day. Hope everybody's having a great week. I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit in my headphones. All right, there we go. I'm blowing myself out of the water here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody's having a great week. I'm excited about Sunday. I'm excited about getting back up in the pulpit, preaching again Sunday, man. I'm excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and drop what the next sermon series is going to be. The next sermon series, we're going to be going through some parables, and hopefully we're going to be... My goal in this series is to get you to see and to hear the parables, some of these parables, in the way that they would have been seen and they would have been heard and they would have been kind of the way that this parable would have hit in the first century. Because bottom line, parables hit different today than what they did in the first century, and kind of the point of the parables, the point of the way that when Jesus told these parables, kind of the point of it was to kind of not only to make a point, but to drive a point. And I think we miss that sometimes because we miss some of the cultural context in the parables. And so we're going to be going through a couple of the parables in the next couple of weeks of the series. I haven't come up with a catchy name for it. I'm sure I will. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just be the parables. Who knows? But anyhow, also announcements that we have, other announcements that we have. Of course, this is pre-recorded. This is Tuesday. I'm recording this. But tonight we're having our Wednesday night Rejuvenate, our Wednesday night service for the youth group. That is tonight at 7. It should be going on right now. Also going on right now is we have our Sprouts Children's Ministry. Again, that should be going on right now as we are speaking. But again, it goes on every Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night we're having Sprouts, we're having youth. If you've got kids, if you've got teenagers, get them down here. They have a great time. They're already in school. They're already in school around each other, so might as well come here as well. If they can go to school, they can come to church. And then also for our ladies, we're going to be having the Matchless Bible Study. That's going to be starting up real soon, and we'll get you some more deep. We're going to be getting the books out and everything on that. But yeah, so even though through this craziness, even though through this nutsoidness, we still have stuff going on. We are still doing things. We are still having church. We are still being the hands and feet of Jesus. And speaking of being hands and feet, I'm going to be getting some more information out about Helping Hands, about the food ministry that we're going to be doing. And that's going to be kicking off, and we're going to need help with that. And I've already got people coming forward to want to help with that, and I'm super excited about that because that is a huge ministry opportunity that we have that bottom line, we've got to take advantage of it. And so anyhow, we're going to jump right into it tonight. This is typically our prayer meeting, and so if you have prayer requests, depending on how this is getting to you, whether you're watching it on Facebook, Facebook, drop it in the comments. If you're on the website right now, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's the prayer request box thing. And then also, even if you're watching it directly on YouTube, because that's kind of how I'm doing this. These videos are actually on YouTube, and from YouTube, I'm putting them on Facebook and putting them on the website. So if you're on YouTube, you can put them right in the comments of and I'll check all of them and make sure that we get this stuff prayed for. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and open up in prayer. We're going to go ahead and pray, and just be praying for our church, be praying for our county. I don't have to tell any of y'all that the COVID's it's here, and it's in Chattooga County, and I think that's pretty obvious. And just be praying for everybody and praying for our church and our community. But let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we come before you, and God, I just want to thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for your word. Thank you so much for what your word teaches us. And God, I just want to pray for our county, where this disease is hitting home for a lot of people, and we're seeing deaths in our county, and we're seeing people in our county getting sick with people in our own church. And God, I pray that this thing's on the way out, and I pray for safety for everybody. I pray for healing for the ones who are sick. And God, just again, thank you so much for your many, many blessings. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you so much of how you love us and how you keep us and how you protect us. And God, I pray that through this, through this time, through what we're going through, God, that you will be ever present. You will be more present with us during this time than what you ever have before. And God, just be so real to us in this time that we can't possibly deny you. And God, again, we love you. We give you all the honor, glory, and praise. In Christ's name, amen. We are going to be in 2 Samuel chapter 20. And what we're going to be talking about is, and kind of give you a little background of what's been going on. Again, we're talking about David. And so we did a sermon series about David where we did some sermons on David, and then also on Wednesday nights. Now we are kind of backing up, and now on Wednesday nights, kind of filling in what happens in between the different kind of sermons, what happened in the life of David in between what we preached on. And where we've been at, what's happened with David is David's son Absalom takes over his kingdom. And David goes into hiding, and Absalom makes some mistakes and goes after David and greatly underestimates David, greatly underestimates David's generals and David's men, and just greatly underestimates Joab. Joab is David's general, and so David or David's men and Absalom's men and Absalom are about to go into this battle, and David tells all of his generals, says, "Listen, don't hurt Absalom. Don't harm Absalom. If you can take Absalom alive, take him alive." And during this battle, Absalom gets stuck in a tree, and Joab has him. Joab has Absalom alive, and could have very easily captured Absalom alive and brought him in alive. But instead of doing that, Joab murders Absalom. Joab throws 3 spears through his heart, and then has him cut down and allows his armor bearers to finish him off. Then, kind of to add insult to injury, when David finds out that Absalom has been killed and David is mourning for Absalom, David is upset. David is crying out for Absalom. Instead of Joab being fearful, instead of Joab going, "Man, I've messed up this time," Joab comes in there to David and pretty much tells him, "You need to suck it up. Your men, you're killing our buzz. Because we've won this great victory. We've killed this guy that's trying to overthrow your kingdom, and you're in here crying about it. You need to suck it up and go out there and reclaim your throne." And David pretty much has to do that at that point. And kind of what we talked about last week was this power that Joab kind of had over David. Because David allowed Joab to have this power. David allowed Joab, David always had Joab do his dirty work. When David needed Uriah murdered, David went to Joab. When Joab murdered Abner, who was Saul's general. David did nothing about it. So David has always given Joab a little bit too much leeway, a little bit too much. He's looked the other way one too many times with Joab, and now it is coming back to bite him. So what David does, David makes a little political move here, and he names, and oh man, I got to find it. I got to find the guy's name. Amasa. He demotes Joab as general and makes Amasa the general. Now, Amasa was actually Absalom's general. So he takes his enemy's general and says, okay, kind of a political move, I'm going to make you my general now. And so because Joab murdered Absalom, David demotes Joab and promotes Amasa to this position as his new general. So let's see how all this works out. And so bear with me. I'm going to make sure I get all the audio. There's a couple buttons I got to click here to make sure that all the audio gets done the way it's supposed to. And that's probably echoing, so I'm going to mute my microphone for a second.
And there happened to be there a rebel whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said,
"We have no share in David, nor do we have inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel."
So every man of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah
All right, so basically what's going on right now is this is sometime after all that. Probably not a whole lot of time has passed, but some time has passed. And this guy, Sheba, comes about. And he is from the tribe of Benjamin, which Benjamin is also the tribe that Saul came from. So this is, again, another Benjamite. And he is apparently a pretty influential guy. We don't know much about him other than this event, but he's obviously a pretty influential guy. He comes up and again trying to bring back Saul, kind of the reign of Saul, the household of Saul, and is going to try to overthrow David. And it says that every man of Israel, and so that's talking about the northern 10 tribes of Israel, and not Judah. Judah stays loyal to David, and he draws them away from David. He starts this rebellion against David. Is kind of where we're at, and so now we go from that, and now we kind of jump into kind of a side story, if you would. All right, so let's...
From the Jordan as far as Jerusalem remained loyal to their king. Now David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in seclusion, and supported them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. And
So here, if you remember when Absalom took over David's palace and he had his concubines there, and then what Absalom did, and he defiled all of David's concubines. When David comes back to his palace, he didn't mistreat he didn't mistreat these women, even though they had been defiled. But at the same time, he still honors them in a place of royalty. He puts them away. He separates them out and supports them. And just about any other king of this time, given the circumstances, probably would have had these women put to death. But David doesn't do that. He supports them, and he just allows them to live out the rest of their lives, despite being victims of what they were victims of. But anyhow, you want to find out exactly what happened? Go back and read. It's not PG. Anyhow, so back to the audio.
The king said to Amasa,
"Assemble the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself."
So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah. But he delayed longer than the set time which David had appointed him. And David said to Abishai,
"Now Sheba, the son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your lord's servants and pursue him, lest he find for himself fortified cities and escape us."
So Joab's men, with the Kerethites, the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, went out after him. And they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri.
So basically, David tells Amasa. Man, why can't I remember this guy's name? David tells Amasa. So he finds out about this guy Sheba trying to overthrow his kingdom. So he tells Amasa. He says, "All right, so mobilize my armies. 3 days. Let's have the armies mobilized. Let's be ready to roll. Let's go get them." So after 3 days, Amasa's nowhere to be found. And Amasa's, we don't know where Amasa's at. So David goes to Abishai. So Joab and Abishai are David's nephews. Okay, and so Joab and Abishai are brothers. So he goes to Abishai, who is Joab's brother, they are both David's nephews, and says, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Amasa's at. Go ahead and let's mobilize. Let's go take care of this threat to my throne. Let's go take care of Sheba. Apparently this guy's got such a big ruse that he is more danger to the kingdom than even Absalom was." And so David's like, "Hey, we've got to go take care of this. I don't know where Amasa's at, but we've got to go take care of this." And so he turns the reins over to Abishai, Joab's brother. So let's continue.
When they were at the large stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa came before them. Now Joab was dressed in battle armor. On it was a belt, with a sword fastened in its sheath at his hips. And as he was going forward, it fell out. Then Joab said to Amasa,
"Are you in health, my brother?"
And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword that was in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it in the stomach, and his entrails poured out on the ground, and he did not strike him again. Thus he died. Then Joab.
So Abishai is leading the army out, and Joab is there, and Amasa shows up, and so kind of what happens is Joab does one of these things where his sword falls out of his sheath onto the ground, and the way a lot of people like kind of read this and think that kind of what they're putting this together is that it's like this is like one of those things that kind of accidentally on purpose happened, that his sword falls out of his sheath, and so he picks it up, and so it's already in his hand, and then he goes to kiss Amasa, which would have been in our day and age a handshake. We ain't going around kissing folks especially COVID. But back then that was like the greeting, is they would give each other a kiss, and so he goes to give him this greeting and grabs him by the beard, and in true Joab fashion, just cold-blooded murders Amasa. So we've got Abner, we've got Absalom, and we've got Amasa. If your name starts with an A, you may want to stay away from Joab, unless you're Abishai. But anyhow, so he just flat out cold blood murders this guy. This is the guy who, when Joab was demoted from general, he replaced him, and so we see how that went for him. But so let's see how the rest of this army responds, because their general has just gotten murdered. Their general, the general that David said, hey, this is the man, the general that the king appointed, the man that the king appointed as general, just got murdered. Let's see how the army responds to this.
Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba the son of Bichri. Meanwhile, one of Joab's men stood near Amasa and said,
"Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, follow Joab."
But Amasa wallowed in his blood in the middle of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him, when he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. When he was removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri.
So, basically, Joab just cold-blooded murders Amasa. Just murders Amasa, cold blood, leaves him there in the middle of the road, kills him like it's nothing, and him and Abishai start pursuing this guy Sheba. They start going after him, and the rest of the army, one of the followers, one of the men of the army said, "Hey, let's follow after Joab. Joab's the man. If you're for Joab, let's go." But they've got this guy in the middle. They've got their former general laying in the middle of the road, bleeding out, dying. And as long as he was there in the road, nobody was going past him. And so this guy literally drags him out of the road, throws a garment over. He's dying. They're not rendering aid or anything. This guy's dying. And they drag him out of the street, throw a garment over him, and his whole army walks right past him. His whole army just walks right past him to follow Joab. To follow the guy that just killed him. This is the guy that just killed the man that the king of the nation said is the general of the army. They're walking past who's supposed to be their general to follow their former general. Joab, one of the things that surprised me about this series was, and I've kind of brought this up, but this really, I really have gotten kind of enthralled with Joab, and this is an interesting guy, and man, he's a character. He's a character, and just I'm still a little bit of my thunder for later, so we're going to continue on. And we're going to see what happens next.
And he went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel and Bethmaachah and all the Berites. So they were gathered together, and also went after Sheba. Then they came and besieged him in Abel of Bethmaachah. And they cast up a siege mound against the city, and it stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman cried out from the city,
Here, here, please say to Joab, come nearby that I may speak with you.
When he had come near to her, the woman said,
Are you Joab?
I am.
Hear the words of your maidservant.
I am listening.
They used to talk in former times, saying, They shall surely seek guidance at Abel, and so they would end disputes. I am among the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?
Far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not so. But a man from the mountains of Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, has raised his hand against the king, against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city.
Watch. His head will be thrown to you over the wall.
Then the woman, in her wisdom, went to all the people. And they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab. Then he blew a trumpet, and they withdrew from the city, every man to his tent. So Joab returned to the king at Jerusalem. And Joab was over all the army of Israel. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites. Adoram was in charge of revenue. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Sheva was scribe. Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira, the Jairite, was a chief minister under David.
All right, so this is what happens. So after just absolutely cold-blooded murdering this other general, Joab and Abishai go and start pursuing and hunting down Sheba. They're trying to find this guy. They're trying to hunt him down to end this revolt against David. And they find him in the city. They find out where he's at. They find him in the city. And so they start to siege this city. And this is a city in Israel. This is an Israeli city. And so they start to siege this city, and they start to build a mound, earthen mound, so they can get up over the wall, so they can get up over the rampart. And a wise woman comes out and says, hey, are you really going to destroy a city in Israel? Are you going to kill us? Are you really going to do this? And Joab goes, no, this is not what I want to do. What I want to, all I'm here for one man. I'm here for Sheba. And the lady says, hey, listen, if I can give you Sheba, will you leave? He goes, yeah, of course. I'm not here to destroy this city. I'm here after one guy. And so she goes into the city, and she's described as a wise woman. And she says, hey, we need to, we need to pacify this guy. And so they round up Sheba, they find him, they cut his head off, throw it over the wall. And Joab leaves. Now, this is what's interesting about Joab. The first thing we see from him is him doing something absolutely, completely, utterly evil. Just cold-blooded murdering another man. But then he goes to the city, and you look at him and you look at what he does, and you go, this is a sensible guy. He says, I'm not here to destroy this city. I'm not here to do any harm against Israel. I'm here to get rid of Sheba. I'm here to get rid of this guy who is after my king and after David, and is here to do harm to my nation. And this is what's so interesting about Joab. Joab, I promise you that Joab believed in his heart, in his mind of minds, that he was a righteous man. Throughout all the, because I mean, if you look at what he's doing, you look at even the dirty scoundrel things that Joab does, you can see how Joab believes that he's right. When he murdered Abner again was the general of Saul. And when Saul dies, Abner becomes the general of Ishbosheth, Saul's son. And Ishbosheth and Abner have a big falling out, and Abner comes to David and to, turncoat, and Joab doesn't buy it. Joab, in his heart of heart, believes that Abner is going to turn on David, that Abner is there to do David harm. And so Joab, in his heart of hearts, believes that he needs to do something about it. And so he does. Joab, with Absalom, David gives Absalom every opportunity to do right, to do the right thing. And here Absalom is threatening his kingdom, is threatening David. And David, Joab sees David as just kind of being blinded by his own love for his own son. And I can see how Joab thinks, if I bring this kid back, he's going to poison our kingdom. And I've got to deal with him. I've got to kill Absalom. This is what's best. Even though it's not what I've been commanded to do, even though it's not what is morally right, it is what's best for this country. And it needs to be done. And I need to do it. David has made this guy Mesa the general. David gives him one simple task. I give you 3 days to go and mobilize our. If this guy can't even mobilize the army in 3 days, how's he gonna lead? He needs to be gotten rid of. David doesn't realize it, but I do. So I'm going to do something about it. I'm just going to, I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do something about it. Do you know people like that? Are you a person like that? Are you? I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know what I've been asked. I know what I've been told, but I know what's best. I know what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it. Regardless of the morality of it, or regardless of the right or wrong of it, regardless of what I've been told to do, I know better. I know what needs to. I'm the only one around. I know what needs to happen. I mean, you're thinking of somebody right now, right? And I'm gonna tell you, I believe Joab absolutely thought he was a righteous guy. I'm sure Joab absolutely believed that the things that he were doing was right. This is the thing. There's right and there's wrong. And Joab may have always had Israel's best intention in mind. Joab may have always had David's best intentions in mind. And I believe he did. I believe Joab always had David's best intentions in mind. Even when Joab went to David, when David is mourning for Absalom, and Joab went in there and said, listen, you've got to suck it up, Buttercup, and you've got to get out there, you've got to address your men, you've got to be the king, you can't sit in here and mourn for your enemy. You know, the whole reason that he says that you can't do this is because everybody's going to desert you. I believe that Joab honestly had David's best intention in mind. I believe he had Israel's best intention in mind. I believe he had God's best intention in mind. I believe Joab had this complex in his mind that he was doing the right thing and that he knew what needed to be done and that even when no one else did, he knew what needed to be done and he was doing it. He still wasn't, but he wasn't. But he wasn't. I want us to be very careful about that. I want us to be very careful about this mentality of I know what's best. I know what's best for this church. I know what's best for this nation. I know what's best. And I know it's not the most popular, and I know it may not even be absolutely biblical, but I know what's best. That is a slippery, slippery slope. That Joab fell down, and I see many, many people falling down, and I want you to be very, very careful about that. I want you to be very careful about this mentality of I know what's best. But we need to be careful about being Joabs. We need to be careful about doing what we think is best without seeking counsel from the Word of God and seeking counsel through prayer. So, if we see Joab comes back, he's murdered. He just murdered a guy. He murdered somebody else. And David, all right, well, since you murdered the last general, I guess I'll make you general again. And David just continues to allow Joab to walk all over him because David has to. David has really not a whole lot of choice in the matter, except to allow Joab to walk all over him. And kind of where he's at. And again, that's something that we touched on last week. That's something that we, of allowing somebody, giving somebody that authority to compromising yourself to allow someone to have that kind of authority over you. Well, I hope that this has touched you in some way. I hope that you've learned something from this. Again, man, coming into this, I didn't realize how much I was going to be intrigued by Joab and by this guy and how interesting of a guy he is. But man, the more I learn about him, the more I see him. The more I see him around, the more I see people who are Joabs. I mean, no, they're not killing people. They're not murderers. But they're doing things that seem right to them that's probably not right. Just because they're doing what's right in their own eyes. Anyhow, I love you guys. I hope y'all have a great week. I hope that everything is going. If you need me for anything, call me, text me, message me, email me, whatever you need to do to get in touch with me, do it. Love you guys. Have a great night. And I will see y'all Sunday.